To go live. Okay. Good afternoon, Ngozi Talk Show's family. Sinomsa here.
Sound is going again.
Sinomsa here at Ngozi Talk Show's Find Your Own Voice, Lead from Within. With me today, I am with Shireen. How are you, Shireen?
Hi, Nomsa. Great to be here again today. I've got a bit of a croaky throat today, but I'm here. So,
Right, you're here.
yes. So it looks like a good topic today.
Yes, it is.
So,
Okay, so
what the topic is, will help you find just the perfect one and find your own voice. Interesting, there's two statements in there, isn't there?
how is the topic? Where are you reading the topic?
How can I sit? Right, I can see. I answered to the other one. Okay, how can I set healthy emotional boundaries in relationships? Is that the right one now?
Yes, it is.
I obviously read the wrong one.
My goodness, Shireen.
Anyway, yeah, well, still, there's important things in there, which is so important for a good relationship, isn't there?
Yes.
Having a healthy boundary is really something that
Yes.
make you, is either going to make or break a relationship.
Yeah, setting healthy boundaries emotionally, and it's very crucial to maintain the emotional well-being and ensuring you maintain mutual respect.
Yeah.
One another. So you like the topic anyway, apart from finding your own voice.
No, I was looking at the wrong place because I didn't put it up higher and then see, oh, that was the topic, really. I was looking at a different one. Anyway, so good. We've got the right one today. I'm on track. I'm on track.
Yes, you are on track.
Which is
so
good.
what, by the way, what do you think about the topic?
What do I think about the topic? What do I think about the boundaries?
Yes, what do you think about the boundaries, setting healthy boundaries,
well, we all
maintaining
know
them?
what happens. We all know what happens when people step on our toes, right? We all know if someone comes and we feel a little bit overwhelmed and we feel like sometimes people ask us to do things and we don't want to do them. And we feel that we have to. So almost we go into this trap of doing stuff that doesn't really fit with us. These are things that are parts of start that sense of discord that happens inside us that then causes us to separate from people or to not allow ourselves, let's put it another way, to be our full self, right? I think one of the things that we're always talking about is how do we fully express ourselves? Because if we're not doing that, we're never going to be happy, right? We all know that the one ingredient that we've got to do is learn how to fully express ourselves in a way that allows you to not only share, but also to bring and uplift others. It's not about just expressing yourself and then making other people feel bad. It's about expressing yourself with the intention as well that you're bringing the energy up for everybody else. Otherwise, what's the point, right? Because we're here for each other. We're not just here for ourselves. We're actually here to make all of us lift higher into a sort of a bigger, deeper spiritual realm. So when I think about emotional boundaries, I think about people's capacity to manage their state. So they can manage themselves so that they can manage how people respond to them and how they respond to others. So when I think about that in the sense of a relationship is, are you able to ask someone for example, can you make me a cup of coffee, please? Right? And be okay if they say no. Can you do that? Because if you can't in a relationship and they say, no, I don't really want to do that right now, you need to be able to hold that in yourself and go, okay, so what's the reason they may not want to do it? Are they busy? Are they doing this? Are they doing that? Am I interrupting them? Right? How do I check these things out, which I think are very important, because the moment we feel the trigger, the moment we feel uncomfortable, is the moment we will withdraw or we will bite back. And then we don't often choose the loving response, which is being curious and wondering and being open and thinking, oh, that's interesting. Yeah. And that just is another space, right, where we can actually bring our higher self or our enlightened self forward. That's a little bit of like what I think about emotional boundaries and relationships. That's just the tip of the tip of something that's a really big iceberg. But what's yours? What are your thoughts there?
I think I agree with you, Shireen, that I think when you live with somebody or when you're with somebody, be okay if you ask them something. I need to put my earphones.
Keep them on because it's really difficult. I missed
Why?
that.
Why does it? Why does? Because my main thing is here, Mike.
I don't know. Maybe there's a connection that's a little bit loose, and it's not properly.
Okay, let me see my coming out, my coming in. Okay, that's fine. I don't know what's going on. Is it better now?
Yes, I can hear you clearly, fully, completely.
Earphones, earphones. Yeah, so I was saying what you're saying is true because sometimes we have to be okay when someone, like if we ask the boundaries, if someone says, can you make me a cup of coffee or hot chocolate or make me a drink? If they say no, I'm
Actually, I
busy.
don't know something, Nomsa. I'm sorry. It went again. So even with the earphones, it went again. I wonder because you're moving, and this
Okay.
feels like a disconnection. This feels like a loose wire somewhere, because you normally in one position you're really good, and we can hear it clear. So there's something about something. It feels like a connection that's not right.
Okay. So am I okay now?
Now you're loud and clear. You have to talk from one position.
Okay, I'm gonna stay in one position and I'm gonna stand still. Don't move, Nomsa. Yeah, I was like, I'm agreeing with you that we need to be okay. Whatever people decide to do in life, we need to be okay. But then emotionally, some people they get angry
Mm,
if they ask for something and that person they're not able to do whatever they want to do that moment. But I think it's very, very important emotionally to know how to maintain our own life. It's a healthy boundary when you
mm,
actually ensuring that your personal fulfillment is fulfilled instead of expecting somebody else to fulfill it.
yeah.
So for me, I always say like to my clients, like if you are dating somebody or if you are doing something, be okay. Uh, because what happens is if we don't keep who we are
Mm,
as an individual, if a relationship doesn't work, we are not able to stand on our own. So you
yeah.
need to be able to be somebody who is okay with everything, but that takes courage and hard
Yeah.
work. Shireen,
It
if
does.
somebody is watching right now and they're like, I hear you, Shireen, I hear you, Numsa, but how do I actually have that courage to actually be okay emotionally? How do I train myself? What advice can you give them, Shireen?
Yeah, it's a tricky one because if you've grown up in a way dependent on people, right? Because a lot of the time we look at something outside ourselves to make us happy, right? We don't look at, we don't go inside to decide how we want to be happy, right? And what happens is when we go outside, looking for happiness, we, as you used the word earlier on, we create expectations of how people must behave in order for us to be happy. Now, that's a huge burden on them, but it becomes a huge burden for us to carry, because we then we have to make sure that they fulfill that criteria, right? So one of the things that we have to learn is to look at really what makes us happy. What sort of things do we do that make us happy in our life? So when you write, does writing make you happy? So things that you do that make you happy to maintain your own happiness is a really good start to start that. I just ask people, can you sit alone at home without the radio on? Can you sit alone at home and maybe not even have to read a book? Can you sit alone at home and feel comfortable in that space? So many people are trying to fill the space that they have no time to be with themselves, right? So they really don't know how to be comfortable in themselves. And when we don't know how to be comfortable with ourselves, what it means is that we're then more prone, or we're more likely that when someone says no to us, or when someone does something that's not within our expectation, we will not know where to go. We have no anchor. And we need to have an anchor for ourselves, that we know no matter what happens, we are okay. Now, we need to learn how to like ourselves. We need to learn how to love ourselves. And we need to love ourselves in and of itself, not that we love ourselves because I am this, because I do this, because no, it's just loving oneself because I exist, because I'm a child of God. Whatever we decide is whatever that is. But we have that nobody can take away from us. We love ourselves, for the unique human being that we are. Because all of us have gifts, and all of us have parts of us that we don't like. But if we can look at the bigger picture and see that, hey, there's much more to us that we can like, then we're more likely to be in a space that if someone does say something that's outside our expectation, we are more able to hold that feeling of safety within ourselves. So I think it's really helpful when someone says, how do I manage this? You've got to be able to set yourself one task, which is, can I sit alone by myself? Can I be happy by myself for 5, 10, 15 minutes? And see how you can build that resilience up so that you can be there for a whole day and not need to look at the phone, right? So you're not dependent on something else to take your mind away from you. Because actually your soul's purpose is to make sure that you shine in the way that you were meant to, right? You need to express who you are as that light. Because all of us are that. We're all that divine light.
I like that. I think it is what you're saying, Shireen, is very, very important, because we have to love ourselves, and our uniqueness is what makes us so different. It stands out from anybody else. Um, I was talking to my spouse the other day, and I used to go to church once. I was talking to Carol and I used to go to church once, but now they've introduced where we can go once a month to just go and pray. So my spouse was like, "You go to church too much. This church business is too much." I was like, "Why are you bothered with my church?" And I was like, "Are you sure it is my church, or is it something else?" Because I don't think I'm bothered with what you do. So I was like, but now I forced him to think really, really deep, deep. But then I've realized that actually sometimes it's very, very important to know yourself. And I realize now because I'm praying now, I'm triggering some things and ancestors don't like it. And they are now using him, speaking through him.
Mm,
And the poor guy, the poor guy now is having to feel the pain. So I was like, you have to know yourself.
mm,
Sometimes it's very, very important to know your identity, Shireen, because there are some people that they don't really sit down and really question, like sit down and understand, prioritize their self-identity, their own values, their interest, and then it goes separate from your relationship. So I was like,
mm,
cultivating individual activities and hobbies, it means that I have to be solo on my own. I have to do other things on my own. And I was like, now I'm asking him, going deep, and I was like, what do you think is bothering you about going to church? And now is picking other things, is not answering me that question.
mm,
So I was like, for me to be honest, if I was to choose between you and God, I would choose God. The reason why is if I was to have any problems, you can let me down anytime, but God will never let me down. So you have to know your values. And if you were sick, if you were ill, I still have to ask the higher power for your healing. Or if things are not going well in our lives, I still have to go to God. You wouldn't provide me what God can provide.
mm,
And I was like, you have to know your boundaries as a person when you're dating somebody. Know your boundaries that you have no authority to say to somebody, you can't do this. And then he saw that I was right. And I was like, I don't have authority to come to you and say, you can't do that. Because if I say that, those things, I'm now trying to change the person that you are becoming. I just have to support you. So I think it's very, very important. I
mm.
don't know what you think, Shireen. Do you have any
Yeah.
comment for that?
I think what you brought a very valid point there, Namsa. It's really important, is that he was questioning, right? Why do you have to go to church, right? So there were a couple of things which you said there, which was so important. And I think for me, when I thought about it, is we are always seeking the other half of ourself, right? So when we come into this world, we separate from what we felt like when we were in the uterus, or even before we existed, right? Before we existed, we were part of something bigger, right? If we kind of go back and say, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And keep going back, you will eventually say, I'm nothing. Because what will happen is there will be no thing that exists before this time, right? That it'll be something that would be just pure light. It'll be that all and nothing, right? State. So we come from this nothingness and we become into the somethingness. We are always looking for that other part of the duality. Now, we get that other part of the duality when we reconnect to that big truth, which is God, right? Which is the big truth of that other half that allows us to feel whole and complete. So you said something which is so beautiful. If I had to choose between you and God, I choose my other half, right? Because in a way, you are in that marriage with God. You're in a marriage because this is your other half. How you are with someone else is on a physical level, right? That's part of the mission of how we are, our soul's mission on being here on this earth, which is to connect with other souls in a different way. But our other half always is with us. When we find our other half, we will never be alone, right? And I think that's the thing that I'm hearing here, and the thing that I think is really the truth, when we are able to be alone, we're never alone. Our other half is there, but when we're quiet and we are able to listen and we're able to explore and find that other half finds us, right? It finds us and we unite in that. And that means it makes us emotionally able to handle uncertainty. So the uncertainty of a relationship that might go wrong, an uncertainty of a job that might never happen, the uncertainty of, whatever uncertainty comes to us, someone dying, the uncertainty of life, because life is always changeable. And I think that the beauty of hearing what you just said was really profound, actually. It's really about understanding it maybe from the perspective that people don't really often think about, but your partner or husband, sorry, he was able to go, okay, that's interesting. She has this other aspect of her that is the whole of her, right? Which is you, the whole of you. You are you and God. You are a unit together with how they come, like you and your children came together in that towards that marriage, right? You didn't come separate from your children. You came with your children. Right? You were that was the agreement. In the same way that as you started to find your connection and deepen your connection with God, then that's the agreement. I come with God, right? You take all of us. You don't just take one. And allowing you to be, and I think that shows the real commitment of respect that someone has to say, well, actually, I have to let you do what you have to do because that's who you are, right?
Yeah. And I think some people they struggle. That's why I meet people and they tell me that there are some things that I need to do in my life. I had to put them on hold because my husband did not want me to do this, or I had to put that on hold because my this does not want me to do this, or my wife did not want me to do this. So I'm thinking, but love is freedom. What
Mm,
makes love so exciting? What makes a relationship so exciting is to sit down and talk about your goals and support each other, not giving each other's ultimatum because you put your life on hold for no reason. So it's
mm,
like, I'm like, I don't understand. Why would you put your dreams? Or sometimes some people, they tell me like, um, I'm supposed to be doing something like going away. I've decided that I'm gonna have a meeting with football with other people, doing some connection, and then go away, maybe do some work and stuff. So when I was talking, they were like, "Oh, you can't do this because of my daughter. She's 9 years old. You can't do that." So I was like, when I was on my own, I was like, "No, I can actually do it." Because I can get a full-time au pair and just go if I had to go abroad and just go abroad for that 1 week. Because talk shows, I can broadcast it anywhere. Hope Spring Eternal Production Agency, I can work anywhere as long as I have a laptop. So I was like, money is good, but I can do it. I can travel anywhere that I want, or maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, nothing stops me. So I was looking at those things and then looking at other people, like emotionally, why people they put their life on hold because there's these boundaries that people they cross. Like if we say I do, or we say I love you, it means you got to
mm.
obey. You got to obey by the rules. But what advice, Shireen, like as a coach, you can give somebody who is watching right now, or like, you know what, Shireen, I had to put my life on hold. I had to maybe even compromise with my social activities. Um, Maintaining social connection, it had to be hard because I had to please my wife or my husband. What
Mm.
advice can you give them?
Well, I think the first thing for me, right, when someone comes and says, I had to do that, is for them to really know they made a choice. They made the choice to, you may not have liked the choice, but they always make a choice. We make a choice every minute of the day, right? So when we put our, when we say I put our life on hold, it's because we chose something else rather than the dream, right? Rather than the purpose of whatever we were going to do. What often happens is they don't realize that part of that was there are lots of gifts they may have learned in the interim that might actually really catalyze their dream to become a bigger reality now that they've got that. So there's a part of a shift that may need to shift on that perspective. And it is really about opening that up a little bit. So if is to ask the question, did you really put your life on hold? What did you do in the interim, right? What skills, capacities, learnings did you gather from being a full-time mum, right? You became really good at monitoring the house. You became very good at communicating with children. You became very good at organizing. You became very good at very much big multitasking. These are translatable. They are translatable. They can be moved across into other fields of business, right? We just have to look to see where they fit across. So nothing that we do, whether we've put our lives on hold or not, it's really about looking, did we really do this? But the other thing is, what would we have lost if we didn't do it? What would we not have had, right? So we need to look at the real truth that sits around all of those things. If you put your life on hold because you've got kids and your kids are doing really well, then it's really about looking back and thinking, I did a damn good job, right? I did a damn good job. I chose this. Nobody told me and forced me to do that. Nobody had a shotgun at my head. I chose this. And I did a good job. So it's really about checking in and looking at all the gifts that you got from that interim period and how can you utilize those gifts to move forward. So I would be focusing on looking at, first of all, the idea of the choice point. What helped you make that choice, right? When you have that moment of tension, because when we make a decision that's a challenge, there's always going to be tension. So what was going on in that moment of tension, right? And how do we deal with that? If someone you gave a second example, I can't remember what the other example was that you gave, but I think we really need to be very curious. So I don't give people advice. I basically start with being really curious. Okay, what was that moment that you made that decision? What's going on right now, right? What were the gifts that happened in between? And really explore that. So open the ground for exploration. In my head is that I believe that our soul put us in that journey, right? I don't know why we're in that journey, but the soul put us there. So if it gave us that journey, then what were those gifts that the soul was trying to get us to learn? So that's the premise that I always have sitting in the background of my mind, so that when I ask a question, I'm really asking the question from the point of there was a reason that you did this way, right? And so nothing is lost. Everything is valuable, whatever happens, right? Because we often know that when we look back, if everyone had to look at the end of their life and look back, you often will see a lot of gifts that you received from having done that. We often go, oh, if I hadn't done this, I wouldn't have learned this, this, and this, and this, right? So we really need to see this from a point of power rather than disempowerment. And the idea that the soul led us that way actually makes it very much more freeing in helping us to see that actually there are no wrong choices ever. The soul makes those choices for us to learn, because we're here to learn. about God.
Yeah, I think you are right, Shirini. There is no, I think we make us ourselves wrong.
Yes, we
We
do it.
make we blame our choices.
Yeah.
But for me, there's no wrong choices, like you were saying. And I always say, like, when I pray, like, I was saying to my spouse, I was like, because he was just talking, and I was like, listen, you can go along with the emotions that you go along, but don't expect me to convince you with your emotions, because you need to go along with them. And when you go along with them, you need to come to a place where you have to realize them yourself, whether they are right or wrong. Because if I try to convince you, then it's no longer your choice. So a
Yeah.
choice that is made by you, by anybody, is an amazing choice. Like you were saying, Shireen, that is powerful when you look back and say, what was that all about? What did I do? What did I do that for? And then you laugh about it and you're like, what did I learn? What's the lesson that I have learned? But some people, they get stuck in
Yeah.
that emotional blame to say, oh, I blame myself for the choices that I've made. But guess what? Life is about balancing giving and receiving. So if you were like, I'm making this decision, I'm giving, I'm receiving, you allow yourself to give, you allow yourself to receive, and you allow yourself to make those choices as well.
Mm.
And avoid overgiving. Some people, they overgive. They are forever giving, not
Yes,
receiving
there are
nothing.
those. Well, I think
Yeah,
that there are those two different types of giving, aren't there?
yeah,
There is giving the compulsive giving, which is coming from a place of fear.
yeah,
And there is giving because you've just got so much to give, right?
yeah,
There's a difference. The so much to give means that you've got so much you could never be depleted because you are pretty much channeling energy. When you are giving because you're trying to please, right? Then that's a very big difference. And often that kind of giving unconsciously has conditions attached to it.
yeah,
And that kind of giving is depletes us because that's when we give and people will take. They will step on our boundary because we don't know at that point how to say no. We don't know how to say no when we overgive, right? There's a problem with the saying no. And we don't say no because we are in fear. We're fear that someone won't love us or fear that someone will leave us or someone is going to hurt us in some way. So we don't say no. And that's when the boundary gets trodden on. Because now our space of safety and our space of, yeah, I would say our safe space, our boundary is really about how do we keep ourself in this space of safety, where we can allow people to come in and go out, right? So it's not a boundary that's fixed like this. It's a boundary that allows you to let people in and let people out and say goodbye, bye bye. But it's a malleable boundary, right? It's a boundary that doesn't have solid fixtures. I think we got to be able to be in a space where we can be open to receiving, as you said, and open to giving. But we're doing it because it's easy. It's easy to give and we don't feel tired. And I think this is really important. I think if anyone feels tired when they give, then this is a big indication that your boundaries are being trodden on in some way.
yeah.
Or you are totally walking over your own boundary, right? So you're not paying attention and looking after yourself. And then it's about looking at what do you not think you're worthy enough? Yeah, valuable enough. Those are the things that you're going to have to really start looking at when you overgive. It's
Yeah,
really, and it's the feeling of compulsion. And it's, I think when we talk about overgiving, I'm talking from a place where we feel like we've got obsessive compulsion. We can't not give. If that's the case, then we're living in the world of force rather than the world of surrender and the sense of, yeah. So that's what I feel is really important. And we've talked, I think you're doing positive intelligence, so we talk about saboteurs. And all these saboteurs that we have are all fear-based. They sit in our fear-based part of our brain. And so whenever either we're trying to strive all the time and we don't take time to rest, and we always trying to fill our lives up and don't take time to be with ourselves, that's another way of abusing ourselves, right? Or
yeah. I think I was doing the talk show, was it Monday? I think I did mention the fear that if you are dating somebody, they make you, or if you're in a relationship, or what kind of a relationship, and that person make you feel that you are not enough, like you find yourself fearing of losing the other person, you have to express yourself, like communicate your fears to that person, because they might not be aware of your feelings.
yeah,
Or sometimes it could be our inner being as well, because if we believe that we are not enough, and then that can cause problems, that can cause fear, or simply uh, just by undermining ourselves and thinking that, you know what, the other person is better than us and they're going to leave us and things like that. And Sharina, you will be surprised at how many people who are living in this kind of a relationship. I always say, like, I will never ever do anything to make my spouse feel jealous. I know there are some coaches that they say, make him jealous. Make it, when you make a man or a woman jealous, they
no,
want you more. I'm like, no, that's destroying a soul. Because
yeah,
if you deliberately play with someone else's mind, and that means you're destroying their soul, you're destroying, it's a distraction. So you might as well not be in that relationship. So I don't know what's your
my
perspective,
take on that.
my take on that one, where other
Mm,
coaches treat people to say, make
no,
him jealous to win his heart.
no, no, you can never win someone's heart through jealousy. You can never win their heart through jealousy.
Yeah,
Because
that's
what you're tapping into in jealousy is a very old, instinctive, intrinsic drive, which is there as a child, that tells us we need to have be the center of attention, because that allows us to be safe, right? When we tap into that, we're making the other person feel unsafe. We're tapping into their unsafetyness. So, and what they will then do is they'll pull towards you, but they're not pulling towards you. They really aren't pulling towards you. They're pulling towards helping resolve the feeling. And what they're not doing is understanding that when this feeling is about this, right? Not about this person. So you can then start to confuse the pull towards as love when it isn't love, right? If we try to make something, if we force or we want someone to do something, and we don't do it from the place of love, when I say you have the freedom to decide, I give you that freedom to decide, and whatever happens, I'm going to be okay with it, right? If we can't do that, then we are not loving that person. We're absolutely not loving them at all. When we put an expectation on someone, we also aren't loving them. Of course, we want some people to behave in a particular way. We want them to do what we want. If we don't ask in a way that helps them choose from their place of love, because they say, oh, of course, I want to do that for you. Of course, when someone says that, yes, I want to do that for you, you know that you've asked in a way that's from love, right? But when they say, no, I don't want to do that, right? You're forcing me to do that or whatever, then you've got a situation. You've got a situation where that relationship is a power-based relationship. And you cannot have power in love. You cannot have that power differential. You've got to have absolute freedom for people to choose. And you may not like it. You have to be comfortable with it. It may mean that you have to go out and party by yourself.
Yeah.
That's what you do, right? You just say, okay, I respect your opinion. I respect that that's what you want to do. It's okay, but this is what I'm going to do, right? You've given choice. And then you choose for you, right? You choose for you. And I think that's what you do as well, right? You have to
Yeah.
choose what you want.
Yeah, it's very, very important, Sharon, what you're saying, to be able to actually choose the things that you want to do. And also communication is very, very important, because when you
No, I'm
communicate.
sorry, I can't hear.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I didn't hear any of that. So can you go back?
So I was saying, yes, it is very, very important what you're saying, that we have to do what is right for ourselves.
Yeah.
And we also have to communicate. Communications is very, very important
Mm,
in a relationship. And also our identity, who we become in that process, in that relationship, whether it's to family members or with our families, is what makes us who we are today. And if we don't become that, that's the end of our happiness. We cannot be happy. I always, when I was fighting Satanism, there's one thing that Satan said to me. He said, I just don't understand you. I have tortured you. I have done this. You don't hold no one in your heart. You let everyone do whatever they want. And I am just fed up of this. I'm just going to leave. And then I was like, yeah, that's me. I don't hold anybody. When I meet somebody, I enjoy that moment being with them. But when they decide that it's time for them to go, I cry, I give them a hug, and I let them go, and I wish them well. I know that is me. That is the friendship. Even with my friends, I do that. But you will find that there are some people who hold you like
yeah.
you didn't do this, and that's so, like they will not let you pursue independent activities, even like intimacy relationship. There are some people who live that kind of life, but going solo sometimes, traveling alone, attending events by yourself, it helps you to strengthen your sense of independence. Because, and at the same time, it helps you to stay true to your values. Like at the beginning, what you said, Shireen, that be okay being doing things on your own. Because the reason why we have our spouse is to enjoy, to keep our identities, to share this happiness that we found within us. And then at the same time, and then go to the bedroom in 10 minutes and be okay.
Yeah.
Just be okay. I think that is really, really, really important.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's really about, if you're starting to notice those feelings, right? Because how do we regulate our emotions? We regulate our emotions by finding a space where we stop those stimuli that are going crazy, that are causing our negative thoughts, those horrible feelings, all of that. We stop them, we suspend them for a moment in time. And then it takes a little while for all those feelings to kind of wash out. And then we can bring in a positive feeling, a feeling that's more connective, more communicative, more open to receive in a different way, and open to give in a different way. So when I talk about being with yourself, really it's about having that moment where we can suspend things So as you said, you go to the bedroom, you kind of take some time out, you move away from what's holding you in this thing, but you have to recognize you're in that emotional situation, right? Often we are living most of our lives in automatic. We often don't realize that because it's easier. Otherwise, we would probably not be able to do anything if we didn't have these wonderful automatic processes of our brain, right? But we need to be able to notice when we are feeling not okay, when we are feeling someone is doing something to us, or when we are noticing when we are telling ourselves lies. We tell ourselves lies. And so therefore we have to notice when we're doing that and suspend it, stop it in its place so it can't run the pattern. And then for emotional regulation, we have got to notice. We always have to notice what's happening. And most of the time, we will feel it as a feeling, right? We'll feel it as a feeling. If we've got a negative thought, it normally will translate out that it'll either have started from a feeling or it will create the feeling that then perpetuates it. So you want to stop that. You want to stop the feeling because the feeling takes us to the fear. The feeling takes us to those biological drivers that we all were born with, which is the fright, flight, freeze kind of state. So we want to move out of that and we want to move into another space. So if we want to have emotional regulation, we must find a way to stop. We have got to find that way to stop and rethink, reset. And then once we're in the space of stopping and we're starting to reset, we can then start to plan with intention. What's our next move? And I think that sometimes it's really good to have a few, maybe 4 or 5 phrases that you can use, learn them off by heart so that they are automatic, so they come in the moment something's going on, so that you can actually just say, oh, stop. I notice something's going on here for me right now, right? Authenticity. I notice something's going on for me right now. Okay. I want to work out what it is because I don't know. It may have nothing to do with you, but it's triggering me. Pay attention. It's triggering me. I want to find out what that is. So if it's okay, I just need 5 minutes to go out and ask myself what's going on. Do that is a really great way to let someone know it's not about them. They may be triggering. They may be like you said, your ancestors. They may be the ancestors bringing the stuff up, right? But you've got to deal with it, right? You've got to deal with what is being presented. So you want to go out of the way and say, okay, ancestors, what the fuck are you talking about? Right? Excuse me. And then you come back in and you say, hey, I've worked out what that is. And you tell the person and you say, okay, that's what I found out. Yeah. All right. I can see how you triggered this for me. Right. Okay. What I want is, or what I'm going to do is, because when you do that, the brain goes forward thinking. And also it means that that person gets to move forward with you. Right? It's so important. It's so important to understand that structure. So you might even say things like, I know you didn't intend to say that, but when you did, that's what happened for me. And I know you may not even have meant it. Give them grace. And then speak about it. Then make sure you know what it's about, right? Or when you said that, maybe you didn't mean that, but it made me feel this, and this. I know that wasn't your intention, but this is what happened. So can we do this? Can we do a rethink? Do you see the difference in the power it takes at that point? We need to learn to have these things at our fingertips. We need to have that. If we don't have that, we have automatically the negative jumps in and we're unable to do what we need to do. So if you've got some statements, some ways of communicating that work or you've modeled from someone else, I always like to kind of just be authentic and say, hey, what happened right there? I don't know what it is, but hey, I've got a feeling. I need to work out what it is, and I will go and find out. For me, that's often the best way. Secondly, if I have to really confront, I'll just say, hey, this is what I'm starting to feel right now. I know you don't mean it. I just need to find out what it is. So, and then work from there. Because the more authentic you are, the more vulnerable you are, actually, the more power you have.
Yeah, I agree with you. But for what I did, Sharina, I went and told the ancestors off, and I left the poor guy in pain. He needs to learn, because he needs to learn to actually, because if I take the easy way out and help him, I'm not gonna be here next time, and he won't be able to help himself. So he needs to understand the feelings that are his, the feelings that are not his. So he needs to be able to differentiate all those things on his own.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that
But we're only talking from ourselves, right?
yeah,
We are only taking, in every relationship, every communication, you know, we're responsible at least 50% of it, right?
yeah,
But we are 100% responsible for our 50%,
yeah,
right? That person is 100% responsible for their 50% of this negotiation. So it's really important. And, although people may need to learn the lesson, we can still hand it over to them. We can still say, this is what I think and what I feel, right?
yeah,
And for somebody else and say, look, what you need to do is find a way that you can be comfortable with finding, with this. You have to find a way to be comfortable. I don't know how to help you with that, right? But in order for us to be okay, there needs to be a way that you've resolved it, right? So you're absolutely handing over their responsibility to them, right? And you're keeping responsibility for how you're communicating the message. And I think part of dealing with emotional boundaries is being able to understand this. What am I fully responsible for here? What are you responsible for? You're responsible for your behavior,
yes, and
right?
our
That's it,
actions.
full stop. How we make this relationship is that we have to work with this idea that you need to be comfortable with what I want here, right? You need to find a way to resolve that. I can't do that for you because you can't do it for them. They have to find a way to come to peace with themselves, right? And to come with a way where they're going to communicate. So I think that's really important when we are communicating and setting boundaries, is to truly know what's our accountability. You'll have to move again a little bit.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me? I'm trying
I
to
can hear you
find.
now.
Okay, do you want to continue talking? I'm trying to find the comment that somebody made,
All right. Okay.
so I can respond to it.
Good.
Trying to respond.
Lovely. Hello, everybody. It's been good. I think it's so important.
I think she said the path is different. I'm trying to find this comment.
I can't hear Namsa.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can.
Okay, so that is me talking. Okay. Namsa Shishi.
What's she saying?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. What did she say? Read out what she wrote.
I'm trying to find her comment, but apparently her comment has disappeared somewhere.
Ah, do you know where it was in Facebook or?
I think it was on Facebook. She was saying someone is path
Let's
is
have a look
different.
and see if I can find it.
Um, I don't know if you can find it.
I'll look on it. Just is it on Nkosi Talk Shows?
Yeah. It could be,
Nkosi Talk Shows. Is it in the group?
it could be in
Yeah,
the
we're live in
group,
the group. Okay, let's see. So
or
I'm just
or it could be Unique Billionaire Mindset. We are everywhere. So
Well,
I don't know.
I'm in the Nkosi talk shows itself where I'm talking to you right now. So
Yeah, but I saw the comment. It was popping up.
yeah, there's no comments written in there. There's none.
Okay. Okay. I don't know. Yeah, so yeah, I think that is very, very important. Like what you were saying, Shireen, that we focus on our emotions, like what we were saying, that our emotions are very, very important. And also knowing thyself, your identity is very, very important, that we know ourselves. And even my children, when they're making a decision, I always say, sometimes they'll tell me, my friends are doing this, so why do I have to do this? And I'm like, when I'm not here, you have to learn to make your own choices. The friends that you have, you are individual. Everything that you make, everything that you do, you got to do it out of love, because your friends are there to support you. But when it comes to reality of you choosing your dreams, it's as individual, it's every man for himself. And my daughter goes, oh, mommy, you're so mean. When you put it that way, it sounds so mean. And uh, and then now she's taught my younger one that sometimes when it comes to mommy, sometimes Kayla, you don't have a choice. She makes it look like you have a choice, but it becomes so painful when you have to make a decision that actually I got to do the right thing. And
Yeah.
she's like, doing the right thing for yourself sometimes is cruel.
Yeah, and and it's only because we're empathic, right?
Yeah,
So we're feeling we're going to hurt someone by stating what we want. And that means that if we put what we want, we automatically assume someone's going to be in pain.
yeah,
Well, that's not always true, right? If someone is okay, then that won't affect, that'll be like water off a duck's back. It won't bother them. So, and they'll probably really see your point of view and they will agree with you, right? So I think if you can truly, I mean, I personally, I think you really need to understand, if you're going to have a conversation with someone, is what it is about that conversation you want. What's the outcome you want, right? Start with that idea. I'm going to have a conversation with this person. What do I really want? Do I want to keep this relationship? How do I want to keep it? What's my best view of it, right? Then how do I work towards that? What are the steps that I might need, so that when you go into that conversation, you're going from a place of not blaming them. You're not
no,
going from the place of this has to be fixed. What you're going from a place of, hey, we're here and we both love each other. So we want to be here. Let's see how we can do that. Is this partly your dream? Is it not? If it isn't, what's missing? What bits do you need? Because it's a collaboration. Relationships are a collaboration. They are not one-sided, right? So we have to collaborate with the person and meet some of their needs to some degree, as long as that doesn't impinge on our needs. So if we are going from a place of feeling fully loved and we are fully loving, then actually nothing will be too much, because we will be there when we need to be there and we won't be there when we shouldn't be there, right? We'll be somewhere else.
yeah.
And that's really all that's about. And that's the truth of the matter. And it takes, and sometimes you will come across that situation where someone will go, oh, no, you're doing this all the time. Then you just say, well, yeah, that is. And we've talked about this. And this is what I'm doing. I'm much nicer when I come back and I've had a conversation with God, right? I'm much nicer. So why would you not want me to have that conversation so that I can be nice to you? It doesn't make sense.
Oh, and also the assumptions. Some people, they don't communicate in a relationship, they just assume and assume and assume. And before you know it, things get worse. Um, I was talking to one of the guys for the one Abdul. I was talking to
Oh,
Abdul.
yes. How is
Yeah,
he?
Yeah, he's fine. And Abdul, he's creating the thing for the broadcast for this TV dating diamond that we are doing. So I was like, I said to them, listen, I'm not happy with everything, how things are done. I need this in order for me to be part of it. I got to have this, I got to have this. And Abdul is looking at me, he goes quiet, he goes, I actually agree with you. I've already thinking the same thing. I was like, why didn't you tell them then? And he was like, I actually agree with your idea. So I was like, okay, for me to move forward, this is what I need. And for me to have that attitude, Shireen, is something that I've learned the hard way, that
Mm,
never ever hide your feelings. And I never ever, because I was like, if I have to help you guys, this is what I need. I need proper things to be done properly. And which is, I was like, we can have a meeting and sit down and discuss everything, but it has to be done. If I'm on it, it has to be done properly. If I was to make you guys money, and then he was like, I actually agree. We have to do this. I was like, next time, please, when you see things, if Nomsa is not there, just speak up. Because it's a habit that you have to practice, even in relationship. You speak up. In,
yeah,
for me, with my spouse, he thinks he says, Nomsa, you are annoying. And even my ex, he goes, you are annoying, but you get things done. He know he knows.
yeah. And it can be really interesting because,
Yeah,
we've got to look at, we all come with filters, right?
yeah,
All of us have filters. So how we're brought up within the culture we're brought up is going to affect how we view other people, right?
yeah,
So very often in many cultures, certainly, women are not seen as the people that are in part of business, really, right? So the idea would be that they wouldn't necessarily think in the way that you would, right? Depending on where we are, we've got to share that knowledge, and we got to be able to show this is what I want. This is how it's going to be. And it's also for women to realize that men are not women in hairy dress. We can't expect them to be like that, right?
yeah,
Hairy women. Men are not like that. They are very different. They think very differently. Testosterone is different. Estrogen is different. They have different effects on our brain. But it's understanding how do we match that so that people can, like you say, they will stand as a spokesman for you, right? They don't sort of say, oh, well, I didn't say that. I agree with you. Well, then, hey, if you agree with me and you think, then just do it. Don't, you know how I think. You've asked these opinions. Now,
yeah.
now you're the
Get on with
spokesman.
it.
Yes. So it's
Get
really
on with
about,
it.
yeah, it's about understanding that. But I think that that's where culture, we have to find a way to really bring the next bit of the elephant in the room, right? And the elephant in the room are those unconscious prejudices we're not aware of. When we recognize them, we can go, oh, okay, right? I mean, to be truly honest, if we have different religions will also have different ideas about women, right? And we have to find wherever their main audience is, then we're going to have to navigate that, right? Because there's something there that's going to have to be navigated that's different, and languaging has to be different, and ways in which people approach has to be different without, because a lot of men will immediately, they see someone, particularly a woman, if a woman is very assertive, she's seen as aggressive a lot of the time. Oh, she's being
Yeah,
aggressive. But actually, she's being just as assertive as a man would be, right? But somehow it feels to them completely different because she's out of her role, which is a prejudged role. So when we understand that, then we can work around that. But we have to have some insight into all of that before we, you know, start new things and go into a new environment, or try and create what's more Western mind on an Eastern mind, or whatever, because each of them are filters. And I think it's really part of our emotional regulation is to be able to understand these things and to go, it's not about me.
No.
It's about this preconditioning that then gets in the way here. So, what can I do? If we have that awareness, then we have the biggest flexibility. In NLP, we say the one with the greatest flexibility is the one that can shift the system.
Have you seen the time, Shireen?
Yes, we're talking too
12
much.
minutes. We're talking too much. We
Should
need
we
to
stop?
go. Yes, it's weekend. We need to stop. We
All
can we
right.
can
Have a
we
lovely
can
weekend,
we can continue the
everyone.
conversation. We can do part two of it. When are you on?
Uh,
Yeah,
um,
well, you can let me know private
I'll
anyway.
do. Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
do.
yes,
All right
yes.
then.
Uh,
Take care.
so for me, I live with you guys. Try maintain your own life while settling healthy emotional boundaries. It is very essential for your personal fulfillment and balancing loving and freedom relationship, and also prioritize your self identity, setting your personal goals, maintaining diverse social connection, and creating your personal space. You can also ensure that your relationship are enriched without overshadowing your individual needs and aspiration. And relationship is all about freedom, freedom, freedom.
Yeah.
If you're watching us from YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. If you're watching us from our social media, Facebook, we are not on Twitter because I need to subscribe on Twitter. I keep forgetting. Um, so join the group as well. We've got groups, and share our videos as well if you like it with your families. If you want to follow Shireen, please do follow her. And if you want her as a coach, go to the website
Oh, thank you.
www.hseia.coach. And the website is on my handles. Everything, guys, is changed. But the other website is still live as well. I think it's going to go down once we've updated everything and transferred everywhere, everything. Live with grace, everyone. Have a beautiful, beautiful weekend. And God bless.